Hey everybody, welcome back to 1001 Recruit Tips, our YouTube channel. Be sure to take a second now to subscribe so you're up to date on all of our new videos. Plenty of great content coming, so let's jump right in. Today's topic is how coaches rank players. I've worked inside recruiting operations for over 15 years in NCAA sports. I've worked for Gator football, Miami men's basketball, UNC Chapel Hill Olympic sports. I've worked with softball, fencing, tennis, lacrosse, golf, rowing. So I've kind of worked in all different areas, different levels, different conferences. So I've put all this information together for you based on these experiences. During this time, I've got to listen to coaches make thousands and thousands of phone calls over the years. My office or desk would usually be right outside their office. They'd pace around my office on the phone so I could hear, basically all day coaches on the phone with recruits and high school coaches and their families. And during this time, I got to hear the unfiltered evaluations of why coaches were interested in players or why they eliminated them. I got to know what they really looked for in players, what they really liked, what they really wanted from players beyond, just the skill sets, size or speed, the different intangibles that they're looking for. Most of my day was spent working in a recruiting database, so I would be adding players and updating coaches' watch lists. So sometimes they would give me a little bit of background of what they really liked about a certain player and why they would add them. And I was also the person that would, take them out of the database or drop down their ranking. So sometimes coaches would, give me a little background of why they were removing the player off the list and dropping them from recruiting. Most staffs divide the recruiting areas by region, by state, by county. So each assistant coach is responsible for certain regions. Sometimes it's broken down by position. Sometimes it's split up by grades. But assistant coaches are out there doing the basic evaluations and trying to find players to add to the list, new players to get people on the radar. Now, once coaches are interested in you, they're going to add you to the database and what I call their watch list. This is a list kind of like the Bible for coaches. They work off, has all your contact information, parents, coaches' contact information, so they can contact you regularly and share this information with other coaches or the head coach on the staff. Now, the assistant coach usually does the legwork. They do the research, and once they have done all their homework and have all the information gathered, they're going to take it to the head coach. Usually, if the head coach decides who gets offered, so that's the progression. It's not going to go. You're not going to go straight to the head coach. You're going to start with the assistant coach that recruits your area, your position, or your grade. Then they're going to take that to the head coach and make the decision whether to, pull the trigger and make an offer or not. So your first goal is to get on that watch list. Now would be a good time to subscribe because we have another video, the reasons why coaches may begin to recruit you. So that'll give you a lot more insight on how to get on that watch list. Now, once you're on the watch list, from the different staffs I've worked with, not all lists are the same. Some staffs I've worked on had maybe up to 5 rankings or grades that the coaches would give you, and it would determine how much priority mail you would get, invites you would get. Some players, if you're kind of low on the list, you would get mail or emails only. If you're higher up on the list, you may be getting personal handwritten notes, invites to events, games, campus visits, junior days. If you're highest on the list, you're probably getting contact from the head coach. So it just depends on how each program decides to rank players within the system, within their database. Most staffs have different ranking systems, but it's important to know that you are kind of being put in order within the recruiting, meetings. There's usually a big board based on position, and they'll kind of rank players within there of who their top priority players for that position are, and kind of trickles on down. And that, again, that'll say how much, what kind of communication you get from the program. You may be getting a ton of attention, or you may be getting just a little bit of attention. So I'm going to try to share some insights on that. You may be getting something daily from the program. You may be getting always invited to campus. Coaches may be calling you as often as possible. You may be getting the kitchen sink, anything and everything. This is also a good time, like I said, to subscribe because we have another video that talks about the 20 signs that a coach may be interested in offering you a scholarship, and that'll tell you the key signs to look for. And then, based on how many of those signs that you're seeing, it will show you how close they are to offering you a scholarship. So that's definitely a great video to check out when you're finished with this. Another good thing to look out for is if you're getting handwritten notes or personal emails, or if coaches are personally inviting you to campus, they're calling you and telling you about a camp and inviting you, that's a great sign versus getting a form letter inviting you to camp, which is a good sign, but the more personal attention you're getting from coaches, the better your standing in recruiting is. Some people are getting less frequent or more generic form letters. Now, this watch list that I talk about, coaches are constantly building and adjusting this list. Depending on the time of year, you need to understand that coaches spend most of their days working off this list. During the season, they'll use it, after practice, first thing in the morning. As they're traveling to games, they may be making some recruiting phone calls. But once the season's over, this is what coaches are spending the majority of their day on. I call it their Bible. And even if you're not old enough to contact, coaches are still building these lists, for freshmen, sophomores, eighth graders. They're trying to put together a list of players to watch and trying to gather contact information. So once you are a recruitable age, they can easily, pick up the phone and call you, shoot you an email, send you a letter, contact your parents, high school coaches, prep coaches. Gathering information was a big part of my job when I worked at these colleges. There's just, when you think about the net that these coaches throw out, the number of players that they're recruiting, the number of players they're evaluating, there's a ton of information. So they're just gathering this information up and getting it ready for when they are able to contact you. And I can't stress to you enough how often these lists are changing. I know a lot of coaches I work for, they change pretty much every day, but at least weekly they're adding and subtracting players. So know that it's a very fluid situation, and you can kind of come out of the middle of nowhere and get an offer or start to get recruited even as late as your senior year. And know that you could really be cut at any time too. So it's important to know that it's a very fluid situation. Again, you definitely need to check out our video, 9 ways to get noticed. Over the years, I've kind of put together, there's really 9 reasons why players were added to our watch list. So please be sure to check out this video when you get a chance, when you finish this video. All right, what coaches want? I've broken it down into these 4 categories. First off, they're first and foremost looking for athletic and position skills. They're looking for speed, they're looking for great size, and they're looking for strength. Athletic position skills. What can you bring to the table for your position group? Can you compete for a starting position within your unit? Can you provide quality depth or backup minutes to the unit? What base skills do you have to work with? You may be very raw, but you may have a lot of athletic ability. What can coaches, what do they have to work with? Do you work hard at your craft? Are you improving? In many sports, coaches are looking for elite speed for your position. Can you make the team or the position faster? They're faster, quicker, faster. Speed can really get you on the map. Skills can be improved, and they can improve speed to some level, but if you're naturally a fast player, this can get you on the list quickly. Size. This is something, coaches know that they can work with. Once you get to campus, you're going to be eating, basically unlimited meals in the dining hall. You're going to have full-time nutritionists helping you. You're going to have a strength and conditioning staff. So they're looking, can you physically dominate or compete at your position? And, size is a big factor to help you get that done. What's your physical frame that they can work with coming out of high school? They can project, how much bigger will you get once you get on campus? And size is something that can't be taught. But it's something that can definitely help you get on the map. So they can look at you. You may be a kind of a smaller, skinnier high school student, but they know, once we get them on campus in our program with our, dining hall, nutritionist, and strength staff, they're going to add 30 pounds their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. So by the time they're a junior or senior, they're really projecting, where they can help build you to. And number four, strength. Can you physically dominate or compete at your position? And where are you starting at with strength before stepping foot on campus? A lot of programs I worked with, a lot of the prep players didn't even have a strength program in high school. So, they know that they can really help you develop, but if you can start off at a great point in terms of strength, that's going to help you get your foot in the door somewhere. Now I'm going to let you in on a secret, and that's that most scholarship players I worked with were only good in a couple of these areas. Nobody's perfect. They're not going to be able to dominate in all four categories. And some players, they may be offered because they're exceptional in even just one area. They may have elite speed, elite skill, elite size, elite strength. So you have to understand they're not expecting you to come in, to be the perfect athlete. I've worked with some really great athletes at Florida, Miami, Carolina. I spent some time in minor league baseball with the Cleveland Indians. And very few players, I've worked with hundreds of players. Very few players that I can name, less probably a handful off the top of my head, are polished and outstanding in every area when they arrive on campus. So don't stress yourself out that you need to be perfect or, a finished product. That's not what they're looking for. Many players have certain areas they need to work on. And it's important that you don't let your weaknesses get into your head and cause self-doubt. Here's some more of an insider's secret. Skill versus speed. Never eliminate yourself or think you can't play college sports because you're too slow or you're too small. I've worked with several players who went on to play in the NFL, the NBA, who were labeled too small or too slow as recruits. So you may not be recruited by many programs, but you can find that one staff that believes in you. Certain staffs I've worked with have strict minimums. The head coach, may set minimums based on each position for height and weight, speed. That they won't even take a look if you don't meet those minimums. But I've worked with other coaches that they take a look at some of the intangibles and the whole package, and so understand that you don't need to take yourself out of the game before it's even started. A lot of coaches are looking for a diamond in the rough, looking for a player that's hasn't gotten all the recruiting accolades yet, but who can definitely play at their level and make a difference for their team. So overall, you're just looking for one assistant coach to believe in you. Something coaches take into consideration during the evaluation process is the level of competition. How do you compete versus great players and great teams? What types of teams and players are you competing against? Are you undefeated with a weak schedule? That's not the same as being, an undefeated team with a very tough schedule, or a team that's lost a few games but you've played a much stronger strength of schedule. Coaches are always looking for players who are competitors. All right, I'm going to give you some tips on how to get an edge with coaches. How can you become a difference maker for your team or your position? What skill can you specialize in that can help win games? What are the important aspects of the game that other players aren't focusing on? What can you become truly exceptional at? If you're not getting a lot of recruiting attention or you think you're too small or too slow, you need to do the dirty work that other players don't want to do, but that can help win games. All the coaches I've worked with, they're ultimately looking for difference makers. What can you do to make a difference in your position or your team? Great players aren't afraid of competition, period. They want to play anyone, anywhere, at any time, and that's kind of the attitude coaches are looking for you. What makes you unique? Everyone wants to be the leading scorer, they want to be a starter, they want to rack up all the stats. But, if you're looking for, you need an edge in the recruiting game, you need to focus on the dirty work, doing the work that other players don't want to do. Blocking, rebounding, whatever your sport may be, it doesn't necessarily get all the shine. Free throws, yards after catch, breaking tackles, steals. How can you become a difference maker? There's tons of skills that are needed to win games, not just to be the leading scorer. There's a big scramble from the time that you're added to a coach's watch list to when you're offered. So the first step is getting added to the watch list. So assistant coaches have maybe between 20 and 30 players on each watch list that they're a high priority player. Each assistant coach, they've identified 20 or 30 players that would be a great fit for the program that play their position or from the region that they recruit. These players are getting personal letters, calls as often as allowed, campus invites. They're getting, the kitchen sink. They may have another 40 to 50 other players that are a little bit lower priority, and they be getting some mail, some emails, some invites, but a little bit less than the priority players. Recruits aren't really treated equally, so it's really depending on where you rank within the coach's system. Like I said, these lists are very fluid. So of the 20 or 30 players on the watch list who are a priority, coaches may go out to their games or tournaments, and they'll come back and they may cut 5 to 10 of those players off the list because, they may not be as big or as talented as kind of the scouting reports that they got prior to that. So they may come back and cut 5 to 10 players off that list. They may have gotten out there and a player doesn't compete. They're too slow. They're not tough. They have a bad attitude, and they get cut. But the good news is the coaches also come back, and sometimes they'll add 10 to 15 new players. Coaches don't recruit off, the hype, the recruiting buzz, the websites. They're looking for great size, skill, speed, competitive attitude, people that are playmakers. So, just because you're not getting the attention, from websites doesn't mean that coaches may not go see somebody else play and you may catch their eye and they'll come back and add you to their watch list and begin recruiting you, which could lead to a scholarship offer. All right, I'm going to let you guys in on a huge secret from the inside. Coaches truly, really, 100% don't care about rankings. They're always asking, the high school coaches they're talking to, the AAU coaches, who's the best player in your area that no one's talking about yet? Coaches want to get in on, the unheard player, the diamond in the rough. So a tip for you is to focus more of your time and effort on your fundamentals and leadership instead of your internet rankings. And understand when you do that, success will come. You need to really focus on yourself and having strong fundamentals, working on your intangibles, things that you can change, and just don't worry about the internet rankings. So each assistant coach will work off their watch list during certain times of the year. They're out on the road, they're out going to events, and they're continuously change their watch list. But as a staff, they're going to sit down and begin to start ranking everybody within the list. Each position will kind of have, a number 1 choice, a number 2 choice, number 3 choice, number 4, and down the line. When players start committing, they might start going further down that list and offering more players. Offers will sometimes go out like that, kind of in the order of what the staff thinks. Usually the assistant coaches will put together film, and sometimes they'll sit together for a day and kind of cross-reference each other and sit down and watch film. And as a staff, they'll rank, each player by position. And throughout the year, they might move down that list and offer multiple players for one scholarship. Ideally, they're looking for the best player who wants to be part of their program. It's a mutual match thing. They're looking for somebody who's passionate about the program, who wants to make an impact, who really wants to be there, who will put the time and effort into becoming a better player. And of those groups, they're looking for the best possible player that they can get. I've had the opportunity to work for some really great coaches, Urban Meyer, Jim Larinaga, several assistant coaches, Charlie Strong, who went on to become head coaches, Steve Adazio. I worked for Larry Fedora. So a lot of times coaches are building a program. So they're not just signing, say they may have 25 or 10 or 5 scholarships for that signing class. They're not just going to go out and sign a certain number of players. There's an actual well thought out plan that the staff sits down and formulates together. They're going to project the depth chart for the next few years. They're going to write down who's graduated, who's likely to turn pro, and go in the next, 2-3 classes down the line and figure out how many slots they have for each position. They're not looking only at, what positions are we going to need for next year. They're looking 2-3 years down the line, kind of grouping the numbers of how they're going to slot it, of what positions are going to be most needed. The head coach will usually determine how many scholarships they're going to allot for each position. And as a recruit, the program may not be recruiting certain positions heavily certain years because it's just not a priority. If they have 3 or 4 running backs returning, they're not going to go sign, several more the next year. They may focus more on quarterbacks or receivers, what they have more of a need for. For example, for football, they may say we need 1 quarterback, 3 wide receivers, 5 DBs, 3 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen. Every move is calculated and well thought out. In some cases, the numbers can be a little bit flexible and they will try to get the best player possible. It may not be, a huge need, but if it's an elite player at that position that could be a program changer, they're going to, maybe pick that player over more of a position need. All right, I have a very important question that you need to remember and ask some of the coaches during the recruiting process. How many players at my position in my graduating class do you plan to sign? It's really important to understand as a recruit there may be little or no need for your position. So before you get your heart set on going to a certain school, they may not really need you, or they may only need one player at that position. They may already have a commit at that position, or you may be way down on their list. So it's good to know where you fit in with each program so you can keep your eyes and ears open for other opportunities that may be coming your way. All right, now getting attention, getting noticed, getting found. The most common complaint that I hear from recruits is that no one's going to come find me because I live in the middle of nowhere, or my team isn't great and coaches don't scout my school. You need to remember that coaches, they're going to need a reason to come find you. All right, like I said earlier, it's important to watch our other video, 9 reasons why players get noticed, and this will give you tons of insight on how to get onto the coaches' watch lists. Coaches are always searching for the next great playmaker. If you have talent, there's always coaches that are going to find you, but you need to understand that they're not just going to show up at your school. If they're not coming to scout you, then you need to go find them. Something cool to know is that a lot of really great players that I worked with, or players who were, difference makers within our program, made huge impacts. They didn't just sit around and wait for our coaching staff to find them. They came to us. So if you're not getting the attention you think you deserve, then you need to go out and find them. If they're not finding you, you can go find them. I'm going to share some more insights. Find opportunities. Get yourself out there. Like I said, watch our other video. You need to work really hard. You need to be a great teammate. You want to become a great player and focus on your skills, speed, and strength. And like I said, don't worry about the rankings or the internet or anything like that. Just worry about yourself. And it's up to you. You can't depend on coaches, your parents, to do it for you. You need to go, do it yourself. It's important to understand, you don't have to spend a lot of money nowadays. There's the internet, there's social media, there's YouTube. There's all kinds of ways to get yourself out there that don't cost a lot of money. You don't have to travel around the country or be on the best AAU team to get noticed. Coaches are looking for difference makers. They're always looking for players that come from winning programs. Once you know how to win, you understand what it takes, and you understand the sacrifices that are needed to win. You understand how much work actually goes into winning. Usually there's leadership, toughness, a great attitude, consistency. You can help create a winning culture where you are. If your program's not winning right now, then you need to put it on your back and set the example. Be a leader, have toughness, a great attitude, do the extra work, be the coaches, for when the coaches aren't around, be a player-led team. Encourage extra work, encourage maturity, encourage toughness. These are all things that you can do right now where you are. They don't cost any money. And, you don't have to be starting off on a winning team. You can be the person that helps create that difference. So it's important to create that winning culture. If it's not there now, you can help start create it. Talk to some of your teammates, get a couple of the guys or girls on your team that are great leaders, and start, you can start doing that yourself and building it from the ground up. I hope this gave you some insight today, and remember that those watch lists are changing every day. They're very fluid. You can work yourself onto a watch list and start getting recruited and possibly earn offers. They're adding and subtracting every day. So it's really up to you. There comes a time when you must put your dreams and goals into action. No success is going to come of just dreams and goals. Success comes after you take action on those dreams and goals. So I hope I gave you some insight and some secrets from within programs of how you can, start getting on the watch lists. All right, don't forget to subscribe for more information and stay tuned for more videos coming. Have a great day.